Yeah, I forgot about that image. Let's see if I have another mix in here that might be more suitable for this. Let's see, athletes. It's got to be some more athletes in here. Athletes, marshals, another. Only 190 images in there. Let me see how many I got in there. Yeah, this is another mix that we haven't overdone yet, so we can probably do this some. Um, but I definitely have to restock my supply. So anyway, we'll start with this guy. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. And we're starting now.
Class demos. Sports. 1A. It's making a little nicely organized folder for my demos. I'm severely overdue on uploading these to my Patreon. Please bear with me. I keep forgetting to do it, but I'm gonna upload those eventually. All right, so feel free to like kind of warm up your hand a bit and maybe not even draw the figure if you want to. I'm pretty well warmed up though, but so I'm just gonna probably just jump right into it. But you're gonna see me doing a lot of like these shapes tonight. These fucking things. It's kind of oblong bone shapes that have gesture drawing embedded into them. Like the sense of rhythm and flow and the energy of the pose should be in these a little bit. In this case, like I'm just like starting with the shape kind of like for the arm. And do another arm there. Just sort of feeling it out. I want to start using this method that I'm using to draw a little bit more constructively. Look at that. You can use these oblong pinch shapes for like the whole torso if you want to too. And you never get terribly lost. You can interpret anatomical forms using these things. But if you ever get lost with how complex the body works, I mean, you can just revert to drawing a little oblong like that. That's way too fucking big. I'm gonna have to shrink my brush. Draw these way smaller. Oh, gotta put on my screen beats. Where's my stream beats? There we go. It's not Jackie Chan. The hot new trivia game from Cinco. The cool thing about these little modular shapes that I'm using, there's a lot of cool things about them, honestly. But I like that, yeah, that it makes foreshortening quite a bit easier. Yes, this is Jackie Chan. You're looking at Jackie Chan right here. Also, some people might be very confused by my avatar in Discord right now. Don't be alarmed. But I've joined a kitten cult from Ethan Becker's server, and if you want to join the kitten cult, you can see you can find the image file for the kitten avatar to change your Discord avatar to. And you can find it in general discussion of my Discord. I'm gonna get warmed up a little bit more in this method that I'm using to draw. I'm gonna maybe be glancing at that slow-mo footage I have on loop up there of the ball player. Hopefully I don't get copyright point for that. If I do, I'm just gonna say it's I'm gonna like put a claim in for it that it's for educational purposes, which it is. We're studying a baseball throw. And I've credited the source. Look, this is from Pitcher's Power Drive. Probably check out their YouTube channel when you can. But I'm utilizing their clip for educational purposes today. I've kind of gotten good results lately with that, by the way, like citing when I'm playing videos or like clips from animated films or things like that here. Usually when I cite them as educational purposes, the claim the claim usually works out for when I upload the YouTube later, I mean. Yeah, this very mannequinized way that I'm drawing, it came out of it, like its foundation is this shape. And then from there I can kind of like modularly like um, play with different shapes that are a little bit closer to the anatomical shape of the body or the things as I feel. All right, let's put a lid on the Jackie Chan bit now for let's hunker down for the class. Also, I saw a post from somebody earlier saying that they're. Let me reread their post. Someone said, Esther Mars in Twitch chat says, by the way, I just wanted to say I appreciate these classes very much, Spacedad. I really like this community, although I'm still shy, never in voice chat. You helped me very much to take steps to pursue a career that I can enjoy. Well, that's cool. Yeah. So you see how I'm handling? I'm using like the oblong shape for that single torso shape, and then I can use the same shape potentially on the whole arm, or I can use it on the different sections of the arm. Where it's especially helpful though is like because the hips are so complicated. Using these kind of shapes to break them down a bit definitely helps. For me, it's starting to feel way more like I'm sculpting when I draw. Like, it feels pretty good. And also, like, anytime I start wandering from that approach or that mentality, like as things start looking more flat, then I can just, like, start banging out these things and playing with them like Tinker Toys and stuff. But here's like an example of how you could use these shapes for foreshortening. You know that I basically just did like one of those kind of sausagey shapes. I just kind of overlapped the top of it a bit, and then it's maybe like maybe I'll ghost in like kind of a angle the legs a little bit and the arms. Then I can get like the thigh in there. Switch it back to my. I'm gonna switch it back to my sync, or it should be on my sync. What the hell's going on here? It's like, oh, there it is. Okay, cool. There, now I'm the center of attention. Aha. So how about them GPUs, huh? Well,
What GPUs? I see no GPUs here.
yeah.
They're gone and never to be seen again.
Yes. Yeah. Go away. There were no GPUs and there never was.
It gets even worse once you realize, like, the larger portion of like what's happening right now is that all the silicon factories are actually generating the chips that are required to make most of this stuff are at 100% capacity. So there's literally no way to get more out of the rock.
Well, what's interesting is that because of what's happening right now, like the U.S. and the EU are working on a plan for silicon independence, where they'll no longer be relying on those factories. But those aren't going to be up and running until like 2023.
Yeah, there's like, I think, what was it, like Nevada? They're building another like
there's
TCM factory.
Yeah, there's a couple of places actually in the U.S. that they're working on that and a bunch of supply chain stuff that are supposed to be up and running by 2023 or so. And by then, presumably, hopefully, the GPU issues will be resolved. Fucking hell.
So we think.
Yeah. Shit sucks, man.
You're telling me, like, I can't solve this XP pen glitch without literally getting a new GPU right now?
I mean, your best bet right now is to, like, camp out Micro Center.
Oh no, believe me, I know that.
Or Best Buy. Best Buy, if you
Well,
Best Buy,
it,
unfortunately, they're really random about when they restock. At least with Micro Center, you know when they're going to restock.
Hey, Spacedad.
well,
Yeah.
I just got here. Are we just warming up right now?
Yes.
Okay.
like literally the only way I can see to actually get new parts at this point is to literally go on to a boutique builder's website and buy something off of there, like an NZXT or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people have resolved to. If you're a creative professional, I do recommend Puget Systems for people that are interested in doing and going that route, because they're pretty reliable and their warranty covers it if like anything, even so much as like flickers in your system, they will replace your entire system overnight. They also like fully optimize the system and set it up like just perfectly for you and stuff. So any kind of like little details that you wouldn't know about if you're not a tech person, they'll take care of.
What's killing me on the inside is that I've built PCs before. I know how to do this. It drives me nuts that I'm gonna have to pay like double to basically build the same rig that I
Yeah.
could do myself.
But I mean, like, look at it. If you get it from like Puget Systems, you're gonna pay the same price as if you were just buying regularly from Puget Systems. And a lot of people who are fully capable of building their own PCs go with Puget Systems because of stuff like the warranty and the tech support thing. Like they can't, like they work professional gigs and they can't afford to, like like lose the system to interrupt their work too much. That's why. That's why like something like that is a viable option. They are very premium professional, but they have been servicing like a lot of like amateur artists and streamers. I do recommend like for like college kids and stuff. I do recommend them definitely. They're also really accessible for contacting to talk to them about what your needs are and stuff. And if a part is not on the list on their site, on their site tool thing, they can order it.
Just want to upgrade my computer, man. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. I know shit sucks right now, really badly.
Yeah, and there's no real relief in sight. At least not for another 2 years.
The soonest we're gonna get any kind of relief, the rough guesstimates say now, is probably the third quarter of this year.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the hopeful
and that's-
projection.
That's an insanely generous estimate, by the way.
And that's also assuming that there's not yet another crypto boom.
At this point, like I think the only thing that can happen is if there that there is likely to be a crash on the horizon. The other thing that might happen is if Ethereum's not supposed to go to 2.0, just I don't know when it's supposed to go 2.0 yet, but when it does, that means basically that consumer GPUs are going to be useless for mining Ethereum. So that will help a little bit. But that remains to be seen, because we're not sure if people will still be able to mine Ethereum with the old way also, if they're already on the system or something.
But what about the best coin, the Dogecoin?
I don't know. I kind of feel like we might be cruising for some severe cryptocurrency regulations in the near future.
Oh, it's most likely going to happen because
It's going to be practically inevitable at this point, I think, because it's too easy to like do money laundering with the damn stuff. Why do you think Russia loves it?
Yeah.
Now, Russia's basically a I don't want to get Russiagate on people because I think Russiagate is kind of overblown. bullshit. But I mean, Russia's basically like a mafia state. Basically, like organized crime essentially controls the government. So. So
Now you say that until out from the shadows creeps Comcast and are just like, "Hey, you actually want an internet package?"
no, I mean literal organized crime, as in like they're murking people and stuff,
Yeah.
like uh, like Russian mafia oligarch combined with oligarchies stuff. But anyway, like yeah, they're severely investing into crypto. Russians are severely investing into Russian government, especially is severely investing into cryptocurrency as a way to launder money for corrupt interests. So we might be seeing a cryptocurrency trade war type scenario in the near future. Okay, Google, stop. We'll just finish on this man doing his jaunty fisticuffs this set before we take a little break. Whoa.
What ho, good sir? How about you?
So one of the reasons why you practice those shapes and stuff on your own time a lot is so that you have them ready to go when you need to solve a drawing problem. Like I can draw these kind of oblong foreshortened tubes and other things I need in order to construct this guy. This is not the best construction, it's a little bit awkward, and it's kind of stiff, but and that's what practice is for. Yeah, I have a lot more confidence than I used to, and my hand-eye dexterity has improved a lot very recently. Using, like, this method that I'm talking about. I mean, look at that. Fucking... I can fart these out without batting an eye.
I think I'm slowly starting to grasp this now.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because this is kind of like unborking my brain so I don't have to constantly just see like perfect anatomy.
Try doing these with pencils and ballpoint pen too, like these kind of shapes. Start to wrap your head around them. And also it's very important to use your arm to do these. Even when you're drawing small, like see this little sphere or this little ellipse I just did. These are all with my arm. I'm drawing using my whole arm. On a 22-inch display, I'm drawing these with my arm. Even this little stick man here. That was all drawn with my arm right there, that little tiny bitty bitty guy. Even if you're drawing small, you can still draw with your shoulder and your arm. You should not be drawing from your... You should never be drawing from your wrists.
Just gonna take a very long time for me to hit that dexterity point.
It takes practice. So this thigh is a little bit long, but what's cool about this method is you can adjust. So this whole thing's pretty big, so I'm going to shrink it. Whoops. Wrong layer. Go. So if you get something out of proportion with the way that I'm drawing, it's pretty easy to adjust it. Because you're just drawing like little kind of sausagey sort of things. You can repose them anywhere you need stuff. Oh, let me pause that. Okay, Google, set timer for 6 minutes.
6 minutes, starting now.
So we're on break. So we might do another warm-up set, but I want to show people a little bit what I have in mind tonight. So there's this slow-mo ball player right here. We're gonna use this. There's also some other things we might use, but like there's a lot of slow-mo footage of athletes doing stuff on that's pretty easy to find on YouTube. And also I would say that like, you can find any kind of footage of like a sports game to use as reference potentially for study. Sports games or UFC fights or boxing matches or anything really. Sprinting, Olympic sprinting, taekwondo matches, anything really. Fencing matches. You can use any sports footage as fodder for this kind of stuff. So the reason why I'm interested in exploring sports more is because unlike live action footage, which you also would probably want to study for like live action footage for films with actors in them and stuff. Unlike live action film footage, sports is with the exception of like maybe pro wrestling, sports is generally not acted. It is not acted and generally not staged. Well, slow motion baseball throws through the camera notwithstanding. The thing about watching like a sports game is you can start to get inside the head of the player, how fatigued they are, how they're thinking, how they're reacting to what's going on, how they're like kind of making decisions on the fly, how they're communicating with their coach, with the strategy of the game. You can see their emotions and stuff, and it's all not acted. Because remember that. So for me, that's kind of the difference between like trying to imitate the acting of another actor versus trying to take something from reality and make it into your own acting. You can still learn a lot from observing other like film actors and stuff like that too. And I think that like there's a lot to take away from for live action filmmaking and especially like really subtle stuff or really kind of dynamic stuff in live action film for sure. But you also want to touch base with reality because you can pull ideas from reality that juice the acting that you want to put into the work that you do. So that's why I think people watching is also in a similar vein. Something I actually want to try in the future here is doing a people watching version of this sort of thing. Because there's a lot of online footage of virtual tours of like cities and locations and stuff all over the world that are on YouTube. And using those for people watching in the future would be really fun. You can practically those are really fun because you can practically write a story in your head about every group that you see or every person that you see when the camera's moving by them and stuff.
Oh, I'm actively aware of that. Like I have like one of those phone 3D headsets that you just throw in there, throw on YouTube 360, and it's always interesting to kind of people watch that way.
Yeah. There's ones of them from zoos too, so if you wanted to do animal drawing stuff, that's also pretty fun.
Ooh, I had not even thought about that.
Yeah. Also, if you guys have a unspent Twitch Prime sub, please throw it my way. We're trying to boost up the channel now with some more Prime subs because it'll help increase visibility on the algorithm or whatever.
Out of curiosity, what's with the double kneecap you have with the bent leg down there?
That one? Oh, it's
Yeah.
different sections of the knee. It's like there's if you feel the bump of your knee, there's the main kneecap and there's this kind of bump on the front of your shin or your calf, you can kind of feel there's like there's like a second bump down below your kneecap. So I'm kind of not really anatomically accurately, but I'm kind of keeping that little thing in mind.
Okay.
Now these are kind of like gummy taffy pieces, wads of stuff that I'm sort of using to construct limbs and stuff with the body, or the body itself. See if I get some good examples here. Got some more of my warm-ups from today. This is when I was actually showing off to some people in Discord, like how this thing works and how easy it is to like foreshorten stuff. And okay, Google, stop. And how easy it is to layer in different aspects of anatomy. This is me like massing in some heads for fun, some creature heads, kind of skeletal heads.
I gotta say, that method has actually helped a lot.
Yeah,
It's
it becomes kind of a universal thing to fall back on. You can also combine it with gesture and line of action stuff too. Like you can embed the line of action directly into the thing, or you can draw the line of action and the gesture beforehand, and then make the shapes on top of it. It's like really modular. I really like this leg right here. Grommet's actually a little the shitty grommet from memory and Wallace over there. It's a little bit distracting from the leg here. That was really fun to draw.
Yeah, this method gives me that same feeling I have when I draw Sonic, because the Sonic characters don't obey any logical structural format. They're just literally just mounds of just clay. So it's kind of easy to kind of
Yeah, no,
unwarp your
that's the
brain and just
idea.
draw that.
That's the idea. You get this, and you can also draw Sonic characters pretty easily. Oblongus. I use the oblongus to draw my gluteus maximus.
Somebody
Can
say
we say new channel plushie?
Oblongus. Someone be breathing into their mic. Anyway, so let's see. What should we do next? Should we do another warm-up set, or should we go into the slow-mo sports study stuff? What do people think? Like, do people need another warm-up set?
I think another short warm-up
Hear
set
me?
would probably be beneficial.
Alright. Yeah, let's do it.
I think a warm-up would be good.
All right.
Yeah, warm up.
Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and we're starting now.
There we go. Hope you didn't draw this. If you didn't, you just try maybe drawing some of these little kind of jelly bean clay wad log things that I'm making. Yeah, these things are so useful because, like, for so many reasons, because, like, it trains your... You can draw them, you can sketch them out, like, really rough and loose if you want. Stuff, like, really quick. Or you can just do, like, a continual line for them just really quickly. But they're, like, really easy to, like, plot and shape. Like, oh, I need something foreshortened. I'm going to do that. Oh, I need something horizontal to my camera. I'm going to do that. I need something severely foreshortened. I'm just going to fucking do that. It's coming off of here. But, yeah. And then you can, like, decide, like, what direction the stuff's facing. If it's going towards you or coming away from you. And so on. And also they're fun to draw. They're fun and relaxing to draw. Which is very important for me. Because this kind of becomes a productive way to build on other things I know. Because I can layer in, like, my knowledge of anatomy here. Like, you could grab an anatomy book or something like Michael Hampton's book or something like that, and start constructing pieces of anatomy into your oblongs. Head looking large there. Oh, I've tried erasing it actually. Also, for anyone who's been doing this method, like, have you noticed a difference in like how well you're able to do them since when you started them? If you do them like more than one day in a row,
Yeah,
because I'm definitely getting that from these.
I tend
Mine's still just
to.
a dexterity building exercise right now because I still don't have any muscle in my arm or my shoulder to maintain the smoothness for it.
I'm not doing in one single line. I don't know if that's maybe a problem.
Well, you don't have to do it in a single line, but you can work yourself up to that. I would maybe even like try doing something like this where you go over the object a few times like that. Or once you get kind of comfortable with like banging these out and stuff, you can just fill up a page with them. Remember, when you're drawing these, you're not making flat 2D shapes. You're making kind of oblong structures. Like each of these could be turned into a limb of some kind or some other kind of structure. You could just do that, but just adding another thing like there, like there we go. Now I got an arm right there.
Admittedly, it's kind of hard for me to think 3D sometimes. Is
Yeah,
that,
that's the point of doing this. So then you start wrapping your head around it. If you're having trouble with it, like you can start wrapping lines over the form like that.
I feel like when I'm intentionally foreshortening something, like it's fairly easy, but if I'm not, then or it's subtle, I kind of forget, and I just end up drawing a 2D shape in my head.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's tricky.
I,
But the main thing is
For-
to get used to playing with a method like this, because if you get used to playing with it, like being able to fit the Tinker Toys that you need at the moment you need them when you get like a pose you need to draw from a particular angle or something like that will come a lot more naturally because you've had plenty of time to just play freely with these and experiment with them and get used to using them from different sort of things. I'm planning on one of my goals for this, maybe this week, possibly next week. I want to start using these guys more to construct complete characters. Because I mean, I've got enough guts here to do that with now.
I actually did use it to draw a character that I've been
Good.
working on, and it was nice. I also used it to make a small comic, which was
Yes.
nice. The fact that I was able to draw the planet out so quickly with simple models actually helped a lot.
Yep, that's what it's
And
for. That's what any kind of mannequinization system is for. It's a scaffolding for your better drawings. And sometimes the mannequin itself is supposed to be the pretty drawing.
this was like a shit post of a comic. Like it.
Well, I mean, shitpost comics is how you get better at doing comics.
And just remember the rules of the internet. The crappier the drawing it is, the weirdly
It was-
more likes you end up getting.
It was quite literally just this like comic of like somebody going, "Oh, sorry, Snowflake, did I offend you?" And he's like, "Do you want a band-aid? Do you want a hug? Do you want a kiss?" And then he like starts making out. And I drew that.
Right
Well,
on.
if we've learned anything, it's that the people that do the most crying, that do the most like, oh, you did I offend you, Snowflake stuff, are the biggest fucking whiners. Thanks to Little Nas exposing them.
That's what I loved about it. It
Yeah.
was just such a stupid
Yeah.
post all around.
I mean, like people have been like, the reason why he did it is because like those same kinds of people since 2019 have basically been like saying he's gonna go to hell for being gay, and he's like, well, he's all, I. So his latest music video is him pole dancing all the way down to hell, down like the world like a miles long stripper pole, and then lap dancing with the devil.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. He also snaps the devil's neck at the end and then takes his horns. And that's the part that the Christians always, that the crazy homophobic Christians always seem to leave out. But yeah, like fucking every dumb fuck who would like chomp at the bit for bait like this came after him. Like every single one of them who's been like complaining endlessly about cancel culture and stuff, all came after him. It's like what his responses have been hilarious. Like, what? I thought you guys were against political correctness. Yeah, people need to remember. I mean, like these are the people who like in like the 90s would like cancel people for accidentally showing a boob during a Super Bowl or something due to a wardrobe slip. The same people who like tried to ban and burn Dungeons and Dragons and stuff back in the 80s. Same kinds of people. Some of them literally the same people too, by the way. Really, when they're whining about cancel culture, is like, oh no, um, I can't say ethnic or LGBT slurs anymore, basically. Yeah, if you notice what I'm doing right here, because I like have the memory of the pose in my head, like that's enough for me to work with to build this because like I'm building this. This is the physical object that matters. I'm building a physical structure here. I don't need the reference anymore. I glanced at it long enough to get kind of a gist of it, and now I'm building this out of shapes. This is the important thing now. And I can keep inventing on it as much as I want. So I'm gonna do a little weird kind of spinal form with the torso there. Maybe not gonna do much else. Well, I could. Look at how easy it is. Like, if I can, look, there's an upper arm right there. Then I can do whatever I want with this. I could maybe move it in a different spot or something. Try it in a few different positions and see what works, you know? It's like treating the figure like a Maya puppet.
But less complicated and not as much scripting.
Mm-hmm. Just wait for like AI-based tools that let you basically do this and then immediately get like character models. There actually is stuff like that right now.
How different is Maya from Blender?
I don't know.
Not significantly different. It's just that there's better like animation deformer tools in it. At least just from what I've understood, just like seeing people compare the two.
Mm-hmm. I think that might have changed recently though.
I mean, has been like really good for like the last like 5 years, honestly.
Yeah,
Ever
but
since they did the
specifically
original.
this year, it's gotten really good with the updates that have happened recently. Actually, it got really good last year too, but a lot of good new shit that's come out very recently. So this is a really weird joint break thing, but I just tried it just for fun. Maybe this would make more sense if it was up here, like foreshorten thing. That's the kind of stuff you can do with this. Like you can reposition things and change them pretty easily with a method like this. When it comes down to drawing systems, you need something that's going to work for you, for making sense of what you're drawing and what you're seeing around you. This is what I'm finding it is working well for me. I'm hoping that it. I want to. From what it sounds like it's from the people that are getting something out of it. It sounds like it's producing a similar effect in the other people here. So I'd be interested in maybe exploring this further and evolving it. Let me see if anyone in the voice chat's taken up the cause of the cat cult. No one has. But see the I think is it general discussion where? No, it's not. See the announcement section in my Discord where I posted this cat. You want to join the cat cult? Make that your avatar.
What is the background story?
It's a picture of a cat, and there's a bunch of people on the Ethan Becker server that are all changing their avatars to it.
I mean,
Did I miss a recent Ethan video? What?
No, it's just a silly thing that started happening on the Ethan server.
Do cat girls count?
If you can like Photoshop one of these, if you can Photoshop this kitten to like look to like have like kawaii cat girl eyes or something, I don't know, that would work.
Not good enough.
It was just a gimmick. It's just temporary. Show solidarity, you lazies. So because this is so modular, I kind of feel like now would be a good time for me to start looking at drawing tutorial videos and stuff, because I have a lot more line control and like shape control than I used to. So maybe like maybe now would be the time to start combining this with stuff that I might be more receptive to now. Like maybe I should take a look at Poco. Poco. Ethan called him Poco, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
officially
that's right. I forgot he did that.
Poco. I mean, getting something that works for you means like that you can start somewhere and build something basically from anything. Like I kind of feel like a lot more freedom with my ability to put stuff down. And like I said, I want to combine it with other stuff, but I want to make sure that the way I'm doing that the way I'm handling these shapes and these lines starts to become second nature. So I'm kind of concentrating on that. That's the thing. Like, you know that whole thing I was talking about? Like, it's common for people to beat themselves up for not working on their personal projects and stuff. Well, this is my personal project right now. I'm trying to develop and make intuitive this method of drawing. And it's a stepping stone for doing the things I want to do with the personal project work I have. That I have, like the stories I want to tell and stuff. And I need to have faith that my stories are going to have much more integrity to them. I'm going to feel a lot better sense of momentum, being able to realize my ideas quicker if I get really fluent with this. And not only that, like I know when I'm going to be doing my personal project work, so I can really devote my attention to this right now. And when I'm going to do that is when I'm in the storyboarding and animation classes that I'm enrolled in for this next month.
Is that a picture of a picture?
Yeah, that is. Want to skip this?
I mean, it's not like it's broken or anything like
I
that. I
guess.
just noticed there was a picture of a picture.
That's weird. Gotta love that though. The moral panics over sexy dancing and gay people exist, and joke sneakers.
although Ethan did upload a video 1 hour ago.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, let's check it out. I'm allowed to show those here without any copyright issues. Let's check that out during the break.
I think it might interest you because it's about storyboarding.
Good. Sounds good. Check it out. So the way that I'm kind of approaching this, where I kind of like know that I'm going to one shape to the next and stuff, I want to do that for characters that I do. That also means adapting to different systems of how I do those characters. But there should be kind of a little bit of a singularity effect of being able to construct shapes to handle different characters and so on that I'm hoping to eventually achieve. Like like I said, I'm searching for like a unified way to handle my drawing, so that I'm not constantly switching gears, so that everything I do is like a natural complement of what I'm doing. But having the dexterity where I need it to be is definitely a huge help. That's the other thing. In order to get your dexterity up, you need to be practicing in a way that's going to improve your dexterity. This seems to have worked for me, the way that I'm drawing right now. So that's why I'm trying to get other people to try it in the hopes that they might have some stuff click for them as well.
By dexterity, do you just mean like how well you can
Your line control and your line control and your dexterity with being able to like make these kind of shapes like this, with being able to get something that's closer to how you actually want to draw it. Okay, Google, stop. But keep in mind when you're drawing, it's an active thing. Like when you're drawing these things, you're not Xeroxing what's in your brain. You're trying to interpret and feel something out that's like has kind of somewhat of the feeling of what you're trying to shoot for, but you still have to like deal with the reality of it being in the physical drawing space and build stuff around it. It's like you have a picture in your head of the house you want to build, but you have to kind of work with the physical matter to build it. Anyway, let's take a look at Ethan's video. Let's see, do I have any more of my warm-up stuff here? Well, I kept drawing on the warm-up sheet, didn't I? Oh well. I really should just go ahead and put these in my class demo folders, shouldn't I?
Note to self: start paying attention to Zov's work a little bit more.
Oh yeah, Zov's doing really great. Zov's killing it, just in general. I want to see Zov getting into some instructed classes in the future. Anyway, let's take a look at Ethan's video. Yeah, it's a 15-minute video called Avatar to Dota Behind the Animation. Here it is. Let's get that on screen here. Let's check this out. Okay, so just disclosure here. I really am impressed with the animation in the new Dota anime series. That said, I think you guys already, if you've been around here, you already know my feelings about the story. It's kind of generic. Not really anything that makes it uniquely Dota. It's kind of generic fantasy novel stuff that's not really too exciting to me. But the animation in it is top notch, and it's good production values, and it's worth watching for the animation and
Listen,
stuff.
When I was this big, I grew up watching Avatar on Nickelodeon after school. I went to Los Angeles, got a job working with the Avatar crew on Voltron, and now I'm so honored, so excited to have worked on Dota. Go check out Dota right now on Netflix. This whole thing was a dream come true for me, and
Oh dear. Now I feel guilty. Oh dear. Now I feel a little bit guilty. Yeah, no, I mean, like, the series is lovely animation and brilliantly executed and stuff, but I mean, the script just doesn't do it for me.
now I want to help you understand the happenings behind the animation process. I'm going to be 100% open and honest with everything I do. I have stolen from other artists. I've made so many mistakes. I've ripped off other artists. And now for the first time, I'm going to be able to stick you behind the scenes, and we're going to go over some of the breakdowns of how the rough animation to the final animation happens. I'm Ethan Becker, and you're watching the Disney Channel. Okay, first most common trick that you're gonna see is a layer bypack layer pan. Very simple. If you want to feel like the camera's moving in 3D space, you just take a layer pan in the foreground and maybe the background, and you're gonna, do this thing where they move in opposite directions. Feels like the camera's twisting around something. It's not. Another interesting part of the process is this shot was cut right here. We don't use this shot. Sometimes you just don't need it, Don't need it. Here's another good example of layer panning to get a feel of 3D space. Look, you're just cheating the whole thing right here. The middle layer is not even moving at all. It just feels like it is. And in the same vein of trying to save animation just for one drawing, you'll see this a lot. Right here we have one drawing and the camera just pans around it and it makes it feel like it's in motion. It's just one drawing, very simple. Here you can look closely, you can actually see the camera panning around this drawing. And this is actually not my drawing, this is a drawing by one of the producers, Ryu. And that's how this process goes sometimes, is that you send in a file and they will add their own drawings on top of it. It's a team effort, so don't ever think anything that you do is one and done. Just to let you know, I've edited them, chopped them up to match each other, but it's not how I originally made mine. You can check the very end of the video to see my full animatic that I made and compare it yourself.
This actually was one of the cooler
Sponsor for this video is me and myself and a Netflix show creator. Click the link below to get learnt professionally by professionals in the industry. You're gonna get to learn how to do some of this stuff. And not just animation, I'm talking voice acting, music production, everything in the animation pipeline pretty much. We're gonna have these classes pumping out. I think they did such a good job with the show. Everything about it is, I feel so proud to have worked on it. It really is amazing. Job with the in the animation pipeline, do some of this stuff to get learned.
I'm taking the storyboard class, the uninstructed version of it though.
Professionally by professionals in the industry. You're gonna get to learn how to do some of this stuff. And not just animation, I'm talking voice acting, music production, everything in the animation pipeline pretty much. We're gonna have these classes pumping out. I think they did such a good job with the show. Everything about it is, I feel so proud to have worked on it. It really is amazing. I love right here how similar my board is to the final. This space shot with the dragon coming towards us. It's a very trailer moment that I was trying to go for, where this dragon is like glowing coming at us, and they did so well with it. It looks awesome. I actually do a lot of these background paintings in Photoshop. All right, if you look here, I got a couple of layers. This is just an example of what I do in Photoshop, because I have specific brushes and stuff, and I upload it to the storyboarding program, and then I slide those around on layers. They kept the timing so well here, and I didn't think that they were going to keep this thing where she does this, I made her do this like twirl. Sometimes in these episodes, they want to save the best animation for last. They don't want to just use up all of the good, cool action stuff like in the middle. But what I'm seeing for these episodes is they did not hold back on animation. They really pumped it out and they did so well. This is where it gets kind of juicy here. I stole a shot from another artist that I've always really admired. I'm gonna get to that in a second, but one of the things that I do here, if I could go back in time and tell myself to chill out on, dude, chill out on the freaking camera movements. Chill out on the camera movements. Let's do some of these shots in more of a stable way. This is a layer bypack, very simple. The background's gonna be pushing away from us and the foreground is gonna be pulling towards us to make it feel like the camera is on this plane just shooting towards the character. Like I wanted this feeling of the character running towards us and the camera is just zooming past. I talk more about this in my class, but these are the type of cinematics that I'm going for. And on another note for acting, too often I see characters just doing what the script says. Characters need to struggle, they need to get hurt, they need to fall, they need to slip, they need to make mistakes. Because it's too often where we read the script and go, okay, this is hit, this is hit, this is hit. Don't make a checklist. Make it something that we can relate to. She's scared, she's gonna be slipping all over the place. She's not gonna be 100% A game. One of the main things that I tell my students to do, reference, always reference. Now, am I telling them to steal? I referenced this shot from, can you guess it? I'm gonna give you a second to guess it. Huh? I referenced this shot from this All right, and here's where I ripped off another artist. Check this out. Can you guess where it's from? Look, I completely ripped off that shot. I'm pretty sure this was boarded by Owen Sullivan. This is pretty much the only time I've ever done this, and this was because it was pretty much the first time I've ever done a storyboard. And I wanted to make sure the board looked good, and I knew what looked good. I was thinking like, okay, where have I seen this shot before? Because I was drawing and I did a similar shot. It wasn't exactly this shot, but the camera was low and we were following Marana and she gets tripped. And halfway through it, I'm like, I've seen this shot before, because you see, we're always referencing things that we've seen before, whether we'd like to admit it or not. It's in our brains. I looked around and I realized it was from this, and I went in and I did a little study of this, and I, tried to see how the ground was panning, and I see the character's action and how he kind of trips and how he hits the floor and the camera pans with him. A lot of artists do this, but they don't say where they got it from. This is pretty much the only time that I've straight up stolen from another artist. Am I proud of it? No. Would I do it again? No, I haven't done it since. I would definitely like to think of it as my first homage. All right, so thanks, Owen. Or should you be thanking me? Who drew it first? And for this one, I want to say that not all artists, not all writers play Dota, okay? We don't know what Dota is. If you're working on these projects, you're not a fan of what you're working on, typically. So I'm slightly embarrassed to say that I thought Marana was an elf. So here, I should have been more clear with this, but she can't see, it's in a blizzard. So now she has to resort to hearing where they are and redirecting her arrow through the blizzard, essentially, because she can't shoot straight. And I thought this would be a cool thing, maybe it's like a feature that she has in the game. Should have done more research. So she shoots into the oncoming wind, and that's how she starts to take them out. This is just an example of how I track the arrow moving through the blizzard. So you'll notice here at the end that there's a different ending. There's actually a bunch of different spots that I've changed up to edit to match to the original. They took my original and they cut like 2 minutes out of it because they have to keep things moving. That's the thing, is that I'll get my script, I'll get my pages, and then I'll do it, and then they have to kind of say like, all right, we can take out this chunk, we don't need this information. Whenever we're looking at the whole episode, we need to be able to fit everything in. So I understand. And even then I was trying to cut back on animations. So they jump into frame to save them, and we don't have to see them get on the dragon, the tiger thing. We don't have to see that happen. And this is where a lot of students get it wrong too, is they think that you have to see everything happen. We can cut too. We can, I mean, and that's what they did. They straight up cut all this section out and cut to them riding away. And one of the major things that I did wrong here is that I had them on the back of the tiger thing, like looking back at the zombies. You can't sit like that. You can't, that's not how you sit on an animal. How are they even sitting? Like, they're supposed to be looking behind them. Doesn't make any sense. I should have thought about it, you know. All right, now I'm gonna show you my storyboard animatic. This is raw, straight up what I sent them, and then they did with it what they wanted. Okay, I wanna say though that storyboards maybe aren't done this way all the time. I added music, I added sound effects, I added a whole vibe to it, and I made sure that it was paced out properly. But whenever you put it into a 22-minute episode, or a 40-minute episode, or whatever, it's gonna need to be cut back. I think it's been over like 2 years since I've done this, so this stuff takes a long time to put through the full animation process. I've got a handful of more scenes that I'm gonna break down in the future, very similar to this, a lot more action shots like dragon fights and stuff like that. But again, in the meantime, you go watch Dota on Netflix right now. It is amazing. Do it.
Marana, you have forgotten me. Marana. Remember.
That was neat. I feel a little guilty for having trashed trashed the script in that show. But no, that was one of the better parts of the show that I actually really liked when I saw it too. I mean, there's a lot of really excellent action scenes in that show. Yeah. So that's cool. Wonder if anything's come of this yet. Let's see, put it up. Yeah, anyway. So we're gonna get started on another thing soon. Let me give everyone a little. Let's take a little 5-minute break after we watch that. I want to say. So I need to get up and stretch a bit, and then we'll kind of reorient, and we'll do some studies of some studies from some live action footage. Try to get do some analysis of the physics of throwing a ball. But here, I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna get up and stretch. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Looks like we got a few members of the cat cult. I saw at least 3. I think one person left though. No more takers for the cat cult. You just got it.
Considering it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold up, I just got here. What cat code?
The cat image that's in my announcement section in my Discord. If you just put it as your avatar. Mainly the people using it are on the Ethan Becker server. But let me see if the people on the Ethan Becker, if the cat cult members on the Ethan Becker server are doing their thing now. There's Tobbs, one of the members of the cat cult, is there.
I just saw that same guy you
Yeah.
mentioned. Hold up, where can I get this image?
Huh? Oh,
Where can I get
it's in the
this image?
announcement section of my Discord.
Oh, I found it.
Ooh, I'm a little fatigued tonight, but we got to power through this. I'm gonna make sure I get plenty of good rest tomorrow, though. But I'm okay. So you can either do this in a regular drawing app, and you basically do like thumbnail drawing type stuff, or you can use an animation thing. I'm actually gonna go with animation, so it'll be more fun. But let's see here.
This is as far as I'm willing to go.
What is?
For the cat cult.
What, the cat girl?
Yeah.
Maybe if you made the background red, like the same color of red that's in the background of the other cat cult members.
Maybe. I don't know if I care that much.
They glue
I don't give a fuck.
Glue the cat's
Oh.
face onto the cat girl
Hmm.
and make the background red.
Anyway, so if you feel like using an animation program for this or something, feel free to. But so what we're gonna do is maybe I should put this over here, shouldn't I? Whoa. Sorry. Let's do something with that. Hang on 1 second. Let's just put that here. I think that'd be good.
Is it okay if I post my shitpost comment in the drawing chat?
Shitpost. What do you mean?
The one I was talking about that I did.
Sure. I mean, feel free to use these to make like any kind of shitposty thing you want, really. All right, so let's see if this. I don't know if that'll be big enough. Where should I put this? That's the big question. Because I can't really like increase its vertical size on this display too much. Should I put it here? I don't know. Does it look okay here? What do you guys think?
It looks good.
All right.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's legible.
Yeah, I'll link it so you don't necessarily have to follow this. Like you can here I'll link the actual YouTube file and then you can use it yourself. You can either download it or something if you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do frame by frame through YouTube using the period and comma key, which lets you go frame by frame.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna pick poses to do this from to draw. I'm not necessarily gonna be too precise about it. I'm just gonna pick poses that look interesting to draw. Like we're just okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, stop. And we will just go through sequentially and do these. You feel free to do these at your own pace, but I'm gonna try to give us like 1 or 2 minutes maybe. Let's I wonder if Google can handle interval timers. Okay, Google, set a 20-minute interval timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
Okay, Google, stop.
All right, canceled.
Let me try this. 2-minute interval timer. There we go. 20 minutes. Let's try that. 2-minute interval timer with seconds of rest. Okay, well I'll do that. 20 seconds of rest. Okay. That'll be 20 seconds to find each pose. And then we'll do just like a total of 20 minutes of all this. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, starting now.
So I'm going to start on this. When the pose beeps, we'll have 20 seconds to find a new pose. I'm already regretting picking this resolution size. I think I just need to bump this up to like 4K or something. So I'm going to try sculpting this with those shapes I've been using too, in addition to just kind of feeling my way around here. So we got one foot that's kind of planted on the ground here for this guy, and the other foot's kind of raised. So it's a little bit more towards the camera. There's going to be some foreshortening on his leg and stuff. I think I fucked up the center of gravity really bad on him. So maybe I'll adjust this here. Raise some of that to maybe get his proportions back where they need to be. Of course, I'm a little bit less concerned with making like a pretty drawing out of this. I want something that's kind of somewhat in the ballpark of like how the figures actually pose and what they're doing action-wise. So I'm okay with it being kind of really kind of dirty and sketchy. All right, so we're about to have about 20 seconds to find the next pose. So I'll go a little bit more. This is slow-mo, so it's going to make it a little easier for me to do this without having to do the period and comma key frame by frame. So I'll find another one, like what I think the next interesting pose would be. That one. All right, so we'll start on this one. So I'm gonna maybe like place his foot there in the same spot. Since I am doing this in an animation program and I have onion skinning I can use. Let's kind of get it started by approximating about where those different parts of his body are a little bit, but then I gotta turn off the onion skinning and draw it on its own terms. So I got the idea to do this because Tonico Pantoja is he has actually stopped doing like just life drawing session stuff. I mean, he still sketches and stuff, but I mean, like, instead of like doing time pose things, he does stuff like what we're trying to do right now, basically, like live action studies, either from film or from sports or whatever. Mostly film, though. I actually wanted to try sports because I saw him doing like film studies on his Twitter. It's like, I'm thinking sports might be a little interesting because sports has more of that element of reality to it, of real world stuff, because it's not really staged for the camera per se. Staged and choreographed, that is, I mean. Although this was staged for a slow-mo camera. More like an exhibition showcase of the body mechanics of a throw. Does look like he's going into the next pose there. So we're about ready to pick our next pose. We'll be picking it now. Oh, actually, no. I got to rewind that a little bit. We were supposed to be picking our pose there. Oh, I don't have any beeping on right here because I turned off the audio. So let's give ourselves a little time to find the pose here. Somewhere in there. There's a nice anticipation, like right about there. We'll use that. Okay. We'll officially start the pose shortly. There you go. Also, bear in mind the camera is slowly moving around this guy. So you might want to adjust your pose accordingly if you're doing a draw like a draw through like I am. Not I'm like adjust it by like making it so it's the camera's not really moving around him. Keep in mind stuff is going to change a little bit subtly from where the camera is moving. And this is just an opportunity to loosely interpret the action that we're seeing in front of us and just going for it, really. It's not really there's not really any replacement from just observing an action and trying to analyze and understand it a bit. Now we're getting somewhere with this, definitely. Actually kind of like that. It'd be interesting to pose this out. But you see like the drawing method I'm using like a super crude, this is like an ultra crude version of that same thing. But it's still based on those kind of oblong shapes and stuff. This one's just way more gesture oriented. Okay, so now we got to pick a new pose. Ooh. Yeah, let's go straight to that. I think we should just go straight to that. If we really want to, we can always come back and do the others later or something. Let's see here. It's really nice. of that twist to the torso that's going on there. See, I want to get stuff that I want to like make some markers about where because he's like bringing his body down and like twisting his torso that way. I want to kind of like get stuff that's sort of like in the rough area of where the stuff is, using the onion skinning as a guide, and then I want to turn it off so I can draw it again on its own terms. It's got that arm back there that's foreshortening pretty severely. For these, it would be a good idea to maybe do like more than one pass on these poses, to be honest. Like you could go back in over the rough sketches that you've done a second time doing these and like push them a little bit more while using the reference footage, because the reference footage is pretty fantastic. You learn a lot from it from going through it multiple times for sure. Oh, by the way, we do have a animation challenge this week. It's completely optional, but I posted an announcement about it. The due date is Saturday morning. The challenge is you have to spend 1 hour, no more, no less, 1 hour animating something to do with swords. Doesn't matter what. Something to do with swords or a sword or whatever.
Reanimate the entirety of the Princess Bride. Got it.
Let's try this. So this one's going to be kind of a slight difference from the last one. I wanted to do this one because look at how much his torso is bending there. And really like setting up how he's going to put the force behind that ball. Yeah, I may actually get more into sports games because I'm starting to think of them from the terms of in the terms of like an animator or an artist, because there's a lot to take away from for sports games. The action, the drama, the emotions that come into play, and the cool physical action stuff. And it's cool to kind of like see the thought process of the players in action. Like I could see playing more playing sports games more. I'm not really into sports, but I might get into it because of this interest. Like I'm very interested in how athletes move and their thought process and stuff. Getting more in the spirit of that might actually be beneficial to me. I've actually done it before, but I've never really gotten that much into sports. But it might be worth it too, just for this. Okay, so 5 seconds to picking our new pose. Let's keep going. Let's go. So, since we're kind of doing a slow-mo action, we'll go with this. He's bringing his foot more forward. The leg is pretty close to the same spot, but his upper body is like doing this. His head's doing that at that weird angle. It's okay to do these super crude, like a trillion times more crude than you do normally too, because you're trying to get like fourth dimensional action in here, and there's a lot of information happening here. Often what happens is like if you are really practiced at figure drawing, about like 20% of your figure drawing ability is going to come out when you're animating. It's a weird thing, but it's because there's like there's kind of like other things you need to pay attention to when you're feeling out a pose in animation. Wow, that's looking good. Look at this. That looks like the action. Yeah, if we time this out, this would actually look like a real baseball pitch. This is looking pretty good. I'm actually really surprised at how good this turned out. I want to do this more. This is fun. I think are you guys down for doing more of this kind of stuff in the future?
Oh yeah.
This is
Absolutely.
great. The slow motion also makes it really easy to pick out the frame. So I think slow motion footage like this would be ideal for these sort of body mechanics exercises. This is great. Again, also you don't necessarily need to do like an animation software version of this. You can do a drawn thumbnail version of this, and if you want to like see it move, you just shift your eyes back and forth between the drawings that you've made, and then you can make adjustments to them. Congratulations, you're a thumbnail animator. That's what you're supposed to do with thumbnails, by the way, for planning out scenes. You're supposed to shift your eyes between them when you've drawn them, like line them up on a page and stuff. And you animate them with your little persistence of vision by shifting your eyes back and forth across them. So now you know, folks. It's not a huge amount of difference between his legs there. The other one's coming forward more, and his body's kind of relaxed, but it's really leaning forward a bit more. I don't think I have him drawn as leaning forward as he is in the reference. But it's looking pretty good still. Like it does look like, I do get the impression it's because like it's sold because of that curve that's like flicking his arm over right there, like the curve of his hand curling down like a claw right there. We need to do this do this like almost every session, I think. What do you guys think? Every session from now on, we should do one of these kinds of a study kind of like this.
Yes.
This would be fantastic. Well, yeah, that's my homework, quote unquote, for you guys is now to help me find more reference footage for stuff like this, like slow-mo stuff, sports stuff, anything that seems interesting or useful. Could be animals, could be anything really that you think might have potential. You can share stuff that you've tried doing studies with too. But we have a section in my Discord where you can post that stuff. Let's see here. I believe it's animation reference. It's animation reference hunters under the animation section of my Discord. Post it there. If you have any reference to share for animation, post it there. All right. So sorry, I took a little bit of extra time there because I got distracted with trying to share that stuff. So next thing we need the arm coming down here. So it's not too far off from the last frame. Like he's not really moving his body too much. But we do want a little bit of a push very slightly forward. Because he's like kind of like steadying himself because he's about to like kind of raise his leg up further to follow through on the action. But like he just put like a huge amount of force into his arm. It's like moving into the frame away from us a little bit. I think what's happening also is like his body is kind of leaning forward more too. So I'm gonna maybe favor that a little bit. Maybe we could stretch that arm out a bit. Okay, so what's happening for the rest of this is his leg's gonna come way up. So honestly, like our next panel could be like this. So what's happening is his foot stays in the same spot, his leg straightens out, his body is leaned forward more, but his buttocks is up higher. His leg is going to be up like this. I'm going to maybe exaggerate that a little too. Okay, Google, stop. So we're going to continue on like one more pose after this. Because I think that one or two more poses after this, because I want to maybe complete this action here in one sitting.
I'm definitely finding the inaction poses a lot more like you want.
Mm-hmm.
They're harder.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's normal, actually. Because like there's like action happening when someone is relatively still. It's subtle stuff. It starts. It's easier to read like broad action because there's bigger forces moving through the body. But maybe add a little motion blur here. If I lean him forward more, he's needs to have more of an impression. He's he's pushing the force through his shoulder. All right, new frame. So it's not too much different from the last one. There's like slight subtle adjustments on the body, but the main thing that's happened, like I think the leg straightens out very slightly, his body drifts slightly a little bit more away from us, his arms down more, kind of this triangle thing that's going on there. But the main thing that happens, because like his body's tilting along with his leg here, the leg's pretty good ways up, taking up a good portion of the frame here. Legs, the leg that's on the ground is pretty straightened up. Also, it's normal for like, yeah, you start your initial sketches of the animator, they're a little bit kind of overdrawn, and then you start getting cruder and cruder and cruder because you're just concentrating on the motion. That's normal. So that's the pose I'm ending on. Maybe we should go for like, let's go for like maybe 2 more poses because these are pretty easy. I feel like we should add 2 smoothing poses in here, like one about here and one about there. So do that. Or actually, no. Now that we have air in betweens, I can probably just do that. I'll just throw in something here, just kind of get it started. So it's decelerating by the time it gets up here. Let's maybe like do one overshoot here. Like that. Overshoot and settle. So his body's like mostly more or less where it needs to be, but I just like adjusted it slightly. Maybe one more. So let's see. Let's try it. First I'm going to try like even timing. I'm going to put these all on 4s. Actually, let's try them on 3s first. So I'm going to put these all on 3s and I'm going to see what it looks like. But we
Can you
are...
ever figure out a way how to
Okay,
retime
Google,
it
put
easily on that?
Okay, Google, set timer to 6 minutes.
6 minutes, and we're starting now.
So let's pause this. All right, so if you want to use that live action footage I linked in the drawing corner, if you want to refer to it yourself, or try some other things with it. But for this break, I'm going to be timing this out on 3s. Did I ever figure that out? No, I didn't. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just haven't gotten too far into the controls with Storyboard, with Clip Studio. I'm sure there is a way to do it.
I imagine there has to be, otherwise I think animators would just be going insane otherwise.
So just by timing that out on 3s, that already looks pretty close to an actual action. And I bet I could play with the action some more, but that looks pretty plausible. It's not as fast as a real action would go, but maybe we can play with the timing on that. Okay, so this end stuff here, maybe I can leave those on 3s, but let's see, like, maybe the actual, like, let's put this on, let's put this part on 2s, see how that looks. Then I'll see if there's anything I can put on 1s. Like the peak of the action I'm going to put on 2s, and then the rest of it, when it's slow, on 3s. That's looking a little better. So maybe we create like an accelerate. Maybe I can put these on 1s. And then I can put the... Okay, so it starts out, it's going to start out... The first 2 frames are going to be 3s. So that's a big jump in their posing there. So those should be on 3s. Maybe they should be on 4s, actually. Let's put that on 4. 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. Let's try that. I'm playing with the timing because I just want to see it. Oh, that looks nice. Look at that. Looks like a real throw. That turned out way better than I thought it would. Let's do way more of these. That was really fun. For future sessions and stuff. Don't know if we'll should we do another one tonight, or maybe we should kind of meditate on what we did here and do some other productive drawing? What do you guys think?
I vote for us to do it again another time.
Another time?
Yeah, like once more.
Well, yeah,
today.
that. I mean, once more today, or what? Because I kind of feel like starting with this was good, and like maybe we shouldn't overdo it. And what we did with this, we should let that sink in, because we concentrate on one shot at a time. You see, and so like I would actually say that people here, if anything, maybe you should refine this study some more
So
instead of moving to another one. If you get what I'm saying. What's that?
Maybe we just finish it off with like just poses then.
Yeah, probably. And also, not just that, like this little exercise that we've done, our third eye for animation is now opened from doing this a little bit, from walking through this. So now would be a good time to actually look at some good animation to show how like pros do stuff. Pros handle this kind of stuff. So I have some stuff that I've been looking at Sakagaburu. Ping Pong the animation has a lot of really fantastic stuff in it. A lot of it is like initially referenced from live action stuff, and they try to mimic some of the energetic feel of like realism, but it's not quite realism. It's kind of a loose interpretation of realism. Very, very hand-drawn oriented. See if I can find some good examples here. There's some really, really crazy shots in Ping Pong the animation that.
Ping Pong the animation is what happens when you give a director all the power.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I think that's. Is this from the show intro? I really got to rewatch this show. I watched some of it ages ago. But that's really beautiful. Even the titles are just like the celebration of animation. Yeah, I think that's from the intro. Let's see if I can find some of the action shots. There's some really amazing action shots from the show. Oh, here we go. Okay, Google, stop. It's wild. This isn't even one of the more elaborate shots in the show. I love the posing on this guy right here. The attitude on this guy. They do a great job of capturing the kind of sleight of hand that and the dexterity on the paddle that the professional ping pong players use. I'm surprised there's not more stuff here. I mean, there's a lot of really fantastic shots in this show. I'm kind of surprised that there's not like the best of them here. Maybe let's try ping pong the animation scene. Here we go. But I'm really surprised that there's like so little of this stuff on Sakagaburo. It seems like kind of a shame. In any case, there's other stuff that I've got here to look at. This is from a volleyball series. I found this stuff by accident. This one is much more cut oriented, like but there are individual shots that are really cool, and how the stuff is like staged and edited is really nice. That's really cool. Set up there.
Isn't it Haikyuu?
I don't know. Well, there's the I can't really pronounce the Koku Danshi volleyball, something like that. I don't know. So let's see, sports. Looking for sports on Sakagaburo. They actually have a category for sports. There's a bunch of stuff that people uploaded recently from this kind of like kids soccer series that I don't know anything about, but I'm not too interested in that. There's probably some good stuff in there, but I'm more interested in some other types of shows. Let's see if I can find some good one. Oh, here's one from the Inazuma 11 series. The fancy footwork right there is really cool. So I'm gonna cycle through these until I find something I recognize, though. Lupin episode. I guess that counts as sports. It's a football player there. But yeah, I'm mainly looking for like good sports anime that might have some stuff in here. Shift through it some more. Oh, here we go. Hajime no Ippo. It's got some amazing boxing scenes in it.
Yeah. Hajime no Ippo is amazing.
Yeah, just in general, really.
Megalobox probably has a couple of good ones too.
Definitely. Yeah, let's take a look
that
at
was
that.
a good show.
So maybe do boxing for the next. Oh yeah. If you want a show that like does a great job of like selling the sense of impact, and also like you can kind of like in the character designs, they kind of sell the idea of like the muscle and the bone crunch. Like you can even feel that right there. You can feel like that kind of feeling of like bone underneath and also like muscle and stuff, and the weight to the muscles and the impact of the muscles underneath Ippo's arm. I mean, the goal of art like this is to kind of put you in the shoes of being inside like the athlete's body. It does it better than most live action would, I'd say, with some exceptions. I think Raging Bull does an excellent job of that. But yeah, Hajime no Ippo, excellent series to look at for all kinds of really fairly high-end boxing animation.
Also, FYI, it's all up on Crunchyroll now. They officially licensed it on there.
Mm-hmm. I would say that it is a series that is worth watching, not just for the animation, but for the story and the characters. It's really well written and really believable, and the characters are really likable too. It's one of the better written sports animes out there, and it's everything in it is realistic and fairly realistic and plausible that happens in it. And they even reference like real world boxing moves a lot for like tricks he picks up to try to overcome other characters. And it helps because the person who made the manga is a former boxer. So yeah, we should definitely use boxing. Let's look up. Let's see if we can find some slow motion boxing footage for our next bit.
Speaking of bits, it looks like quite a few people actually posted their animations right now.
Oh, goody. Let's take a look at them too. Let's see. There's a lot of like slow-mo boxing stuff. We'll take a quick peek at this. It's Floyd Mayweather's slow motion. MMA. MMA would probably be better because they don't have the boxing gloves covering up the hands as much. Like those are, they actually have their hands open up for grappling and stuff with pads on the back. But here we go. Oh, whoa. Goosh. Jeez. Bam. God damn. It's great too. Like you can see like the instinctive thought process that's going through the muscle memory of the fighters' bodies as they try to catch their balance and stuff. And in
Well, you can
addition,
always tell if someone got a haymaker knockout if they both stiff as a board and they fall down.
mm-hmm. This is almost kind of magical. It's like a ballet of ballet of brutality. Bam. Yeah, slow-mo people pummeling each other is kind of beautiful. Oh wow, wow. Look how he fell back there. Look at his legs coming off the ground. He actually flies up just a little bit. That's pretty wild. Oh, out goes the mouth guard. Dang. Miss. Bam! Counterpunch. Follow up with a kick to the head. Wow, dang. That was really cool. Oh, we didn't see much more of that one, sadly. Bam. And thankfully, there's like plenty of footage to go through here for like MMA stuff for sure. It's like years and years of fans making like slow motion compilations and other things. Damn, look at that. That was like an attempted. Was it like a suplex or something? I'd love to find out like the terminologies for the different moves in MMA over the course of like doing research into stuff like this for sure. Another cool thing about athletes is like as you start to sympathize with them and understand them over the course of doing studies as an animator or an artist, athletes kind of tune into that too when they see people's work. And so like a good example of that, I would say, is Glenn Keane, who did a collaboration with Kobe Bryant based on like Kobe Bryant's life. Like Glenn Keane's ability as an animator to sympathize with what an athlete goes through, because like a lot of animation is a physical act. We are all basically actors slash athletes with a pencil. Like, so studying athletes, people who go through a lot of the same kind of things that we need to go through to be good artists. Studying athletes is a good way to hook into sympathy and also like feed off. We can feed off the energy of athletes. Over the course of like, understanding body mechanics and other things that you get out of analyzing sports footage. And also like sympathizing with the athletes if you know a little bit about the people here and what they were thinking at the time and stuff like that, or their personalities and things. Those are other things that would come into play too. You can keep in mind from an acting perspective. It might influence your own work. You can even write, even if you don't know the full context of something, you can even write stories in your head about like what's going on here based on their expressions, their body language and stuff. So a lot of nuance stuff that will come out of looking at stuff like this for sure too. Like for example, let's say like you're trying to design a fight where like one guy's a little bit apprehensive, but he's landing some good blows on the other dude that he's got in the corner and stuff, and he manages to drop the other guy with a successful blow here, and the other guy starts to go down. But the other guy is like trying to keep following up on blows, and then he sort of like follows through on that other blow that he had planned, and sort of skims the side of this guy's face as he's going down. Oh, bam! I like this one because it's like, for a split second, you can kind of tell that this guy knows that he fucked up. Or not really a split second, but like for a split second, that would, in real time, that would be a split second. But in slow-mo, we get that split second drawn out. Like he knows that he fucked up and he's about to take a blow, but he doesn't quite fully prepare for it, so he takes a lot of the force of it. Dang. All right, so let's try to find something that we can use from maybe this. There's plenty of stuff to pick from here, so let's maybe use this since I just yoinked it. Here, I'll link this in. This is going to be linked in Twitch chat, and I'm also going to link it in Drawing Corner chat. For those of you that might be watching the YouTube video, this is the best MMA highlights in slow motion UFC knockouts from, and let's see what the account's called, Tim Fighter. Okay. And Tim, this is nice footage. I'm using this for educational purposes. Hope you don't mind. And hope the UFC or whatever using this from. There's a women's fighting right here. That's cool. So let's decide on what we're gonna use. Yeah, let's find a juicy. Let's find something that's like really cleanly staged, hopefully with like full bodies with not too much camera movement. Or if it is not full bodies, maybe something like this. That is nice. It's a nice hit right there. So this guy tries to go in. He's kind of looking for an opening. He's kind of doing a feint and stuff. And then this guy just elbows him. Oh, I love that. That's nice. I like the anticipation for that. Watch this. Kind of moving back here. Then like watch this guy's torso as he does the twist. Kind of anticipate the punch. Then he like, you can see him putting the leg down, shifting his hips, twisting his body, putting his weight into the punch. Boosh. Wow. It's a pretty mighty pose right there too that he assumes at the end. He looks almost heroic. He looks like almost like he's posing to be deliberately heroic there. I think we might use that. That was really nice. Let's take a look at this. Bam. Yeah, I think that one that I was just on earlier, we'll probably use that. We'll go through it. Let's go through a little bit more of those. Yeah, I think this one back over, not here. I think that's the same guy as the, yeah, I think is this the same fight? Yeah, I think this is the same fight. Cool. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. This is the fight that we're going to use. Of course, we don't have to really worry about the legs as much for this one. Just like maybe the waist and the upper thighs at most. So we'll concentrate on this. You don't have the options to turn the animations to a GIF or a movie file? Yeah, I don't know OpenTunes, so I don't know anything about that. I might want to look into that in the future so that I can help people.
I can help out with that. I have OpenTunes.
Sure.
First off, I think you need to have
let's maybe
a
save that.
specific
Let's maybe
extension.
save that for the break, though.
Oh, okay.
Just like do your animation as normal. Then we can work on exporting it later. All right, so we're gonna start another set here. Officially start it in 10 seconds. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Starting now.
The counterpunch, yeah, that one was a cool one, but we can grab that for another time, maybe. Or you can do that yourselves. Oops, shit. What am I doing? This is not the monitor that I'm going to put this on. Okay, Google, add 30 seconds to timer.
Done. 30 seconds added to your 20-minute timer.
All right, so this is the monitor we're using.
Seconds left.
All right, so let me rewind that again. Sorry. Alrighty. Oh shit. I need to create a new file, don't I? It's gonna have to be quick and dirty. Okay, there we go. All right. So what do we got here? We got two dudes. I may want to give a little bit more than 2 minutes because it's two poses. So I may actually bump this to 3-minute interval. We'll do this first one and see how it goes. If so, then I'll switch it to another YouTube timer that gives us the intervals that we need. Just pay attention to their body language and how they're related to each other a little bit. I'm going to try to like get these two curves right here that are sort of opposing each other. Right here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You're trying to do a quick gestural interpretation of what you're seeing. Maybe I want to increase the size of this to take up more of the frame for sure. Let's do that. Like this. Alright, looking for a new frame now. So we got 20 seconds to find a new frame. About here. That'd be good. So they're moving to the side. Keep that in mind. Like the camera's kind of moving with them a bit. I'm gonna kind of like adjust their poses a little bit. Try to keep their volumes if you are drawing like the full bodies and not just like stick figures. Fairly consistent if you can. So this is going to be probably a little bit ambiguous, but I'm going to try to get the overall big stuff working like that. The arm here, the angle of the body here. I think his buttocks is turning a little bit more away from us than it was originally. This guy here. His head's down a bit more. Here's a principle to keep in mind. I know how like a lot of anime kind of stages stuff like, oh ho, how you dare you challenge me? I've got supremo reflexes shit and stuff. I've got super upper level abilities and other blah blah blah. The reality is most violence, this is true of warfare and of sports also for that matter. And true of just like violence and like street fights and stuff too. Most violence is determined by whoever acts first. And whoever like acts first before the other person has time to react. Or who sees the opportunity to act first. Not any special power or ability involved with that. It's just whoever like has the gall to act first. Like, there's not any kind of special ritual mystique to executing violence and enabling it or whatever like that. I mean, like, it's literally just whoever acts first usually seizes the opportunity, basically. And so much of warfare is about setting things up for whoever acts first, or acts swiftest, or just fights in general. There we go. That's actually looking pretty alright. I was looking for like the big things that were the big changes, like the arm of this guy right here going into the anticipation. Alright, so now we're going into, we're going to go to the full anticipation, the full backswing about there. So for this, his head's going to be down a little bit, I think. This guy's going to be about roughly in the same spot. This guy's going to be more down here. He's kind of moving back, sort of forcing the guy that's grabbed him to come with him a bit. It's wild to think about, though, isn't it? I mean, like, you're getting, even if you're like, say you're getting bullied in middle school or something like that as a kid. If you act first to wallop the bully and take initiative, it doesn't matter how much teasing and taunting he has or how many friends he surrounds himself with. If you act first and act quickly, you can wallop him and cold clock him on the ground. Don't do that, though, by the way. Here's how you should respond to real-world fights. Do whatever you can to disengage and get very far away, very quickly. So real-world violence just results in injury and is not fun. Injury or worse. There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing sporting about it. You should fight back with self-defense where you're able to, but you should try to disengage and get away as quickly as you can in any kind of real-world fight. Any decent sportsman or self-defense instructor will tell you the same thing. Your main goal in a fight should be to get the fuck away. Now, if you're talking about, like, military combat training, that's a different story. You're trying to fucking kill someone. Or if you're a cop, trying to subdue someone to, you know, presumably arrest them. Or, I mean, that's if you get the good police training. But yeah, there's like there's different kinds of things you have to keep in mind regarding violence and how it's staged and stuff. Like a lot of anime violence is very much based on kind of like no theater or Peking opera kind of kung fu martial arts film staging, where it's very theatrical and staged and characters, you know, like announcing their attacks and like winding up their attacks and really showing them off. Totally unrealistic, but it's cool. It looks cool, and I don't think there's, unless you're like a really little kid, I don't think there's any really belief that any of the violence is something that would be plausible in real life in those situations. I am interested in exploring the idea of like kind of stuff you would normally think of for like anime special attacks or super moves or magical attacks, but handled in a way that is kind of more in the ballpark of how they would be handled realistically, like in a real, like how would a magician, how would like a mage, a battle mage, in a fairly like kind of hard fantasy setting, handle shooting off their magic missiles and their fireball attacks and stuff for for like an actual like military or spec ops kind of operation or something, you know? If anyone knows of any good examples of something like that, something that kind of falls into that vein, please let me know. Because I'd love to check them out. Like stuff that kind of handles how magic might work, like tactically, and how it's handled like tactically and how it's staged in a fantasy thing. I'm sure there's probably something out there that's done that. It would be a film or a show.
I think Log Horizon would have done that a lot more tactically.
Hmm.
Like the main character was literally a support class like magician that basically tactically screwed over his enemy like constantly throughout the show.
Hmm. So as you're doing these, if you're doing them thumbnail form, shift your eye back and forth over them. If you're doing them in animation software, like do rolling and flipping. I mean, that rolling and flipping is basically like shifting back and forth between your frames like this. See how it kind of looks. Here we go, next frame. I'm gonna do a little follow through frame right here, basically. Not too much different from the last one, but like the grip's loosened on the guy that's getting popped. He's going back a little bit. His head is really twisted. There's more of an indication. There you can see more of the fist of the guy That just walloped him in the face coming through here. There's a lot of overlapping happening on those arms, so this isn't like the most clear, clean punch. So it's going to be kind of challenging in that regard. Those would definitely be on ones. I'm going to go back to the last thing we animated. Just take a look at that again. Just for some ideas on when I get to the timing on this. I have an idea I'm going to try on this real quick. It's fine as it is. Okay. Next stream. There we go. Right there. So the body is up of the dude who just popped. I think part of that is I think the camera's moving a bit too. That's part of the reason why. If that is the case, then I'll probably just repeg this so it's further down. In fact, I probably should do that like that. This guy's back is straightening out towards the camera a bit more. This guy's got a very heroic pose going on here. Try to get the important stuff, because like this is like a rough sketch of like your loose impression of the motion. It's not by any means going to be like the final perfectly drawn out thing. You're trying to get like an overall impression of the motion. I tried darkening this guy's fist so we know where it is. And this guy's fist also gets darkened here. So we know. A little bit more what's happening. Alright, so I think the last pose is going to come up here. You just a little bit more of a settle here into that. It's about here.
Yeah, I definitely botched this.
That's fine. I mean, you can just do it again.
Looking kind of scuffed.
The camera is moving here, by the way, so again, keep that in mind. I'm kind of trying to adjust it to compensate for the moving camera a bit. Okay, Google, stop. Good timing. So I'm going to time these out. First thing first, I'm going to put these on 3s. Whoops. Put these on 3s. Because there was a lot going on in this, I think that this one's going to come out a little bit not quite as clear as the other one. But we'll see here. Alright, so I can immediately tell that this right here, I should probably have on 1s. So put that on 1s. So that maybe should be on 4. Then maybe I'll leave that on 4. Then maybe this gets put on 4. There we go. Starting to get somewhere with it. Let's try putting that on 4 and see what happens. Then maybe that should be on 2 right there. Let's try that. No, not as much impact. There we go. Now I'm getting somewhere. But I think the backswing needs to be sped up a bit. Let's like maybe linger here, but then speed this up. So like 1, 2. I feel like this needs an in-between. So favoring the green a little bit. And favoring the green a bit. All right, so we are on a 5 okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Starting to look pretty good. Let's see. Is there more stuff that happens after this? Maybe I can add some more settle. Yeah, there is actually. I'm going to add one more frame here of this. Put it about here. This guy's kind of falling back a bit more. Any more that happens after this? Yeah, let's put a little bit more in there. This. So it's doing more like this kind of pose. Let's put that in there. You can see a lot of the top of his shoulder there. He's coming down a bit. This guy's starting to fall back a little bit more. So this guy would probably favor the red a little bit more because he's starting to accelerate into the fall. This guy, I would favor the green a bit more on him because he's kind of pushing himself into that pose. Let's try this. Gonna have fun playing with it at the end here. It's too much of a stagger here. Let's put that in there. So maybe one more frame here. Then we'll put this on like that. I think that'll work. Right now I'm just like playing with the timing. I feel like this is starting to get somewhere. It looks like it looks like a snapshotted clip now instead of like lingering too long at the end. Okay, Google, stop. Yeah, there's more of a sense of the impact there for sure than there was before. It's maybe more of a moving hold here. So I'm favoring the green on him a little bit. Midway for the head here. little bit too robotic. Let's try this. I think I heavily favor the green now. So I'm trying to go in like the animator zone right now at the end of class. There we go. That's feeling better to me already. Maybe I should hold on one of these frames here where the impact happens, like bam, maybe like here. Let's put that on 3 and see what happens. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, I kind of like where that's going. I might play with the timing on this a bit more later, but honestly, I got what I wanted to out of this quick exercise. That feels pretty good. What do you guys think?
Do you mean of the exercise of your result? Because I liked both.
Both.
Yeah, but the exercise, this was
A
quite
lot
a bit
tougher.
harder than the last one.
Yeah, because it was two
for
figures,
sure.
two figures, arms covering up and stuff in front of stuff. Very challenging because of that. Stuff like the baseball pitch is a little bit easier because it's a single figure. So I definitely say that like if you're getting started with this, starting with very clear figures where the camera's not moving too much and where you can see maybe like one figure at a time, like stuff with like there might be like slow motion footage of like a kendo or like a kendo swordsman or something like that doing a sword move that you can use, for example, or like a boxer showing off a punch in a punching bag that you could use or something.
Yeah, another thing I found harder about this one is that you can't see the fighter's legs.
Yeah,
So
I'm not too worried about the legs. I'm mainly concentrated on the upper bodies. Like the legs is something that I would go back on another pass through to kind of get a little working a little bit better. But that's just like when you do this, this is like your initial pass on trying to understand an action you're trying to break down for your animation from reference. Like this is like my first crack at something that I would translate into some animation.
I'm not animating these, but what I really like about them is that it's really forcing me to think about the weight of the bodies, like where that weight is shifting and going.
Yes, definitely.
Which I definitely wasn't getting from the still poses that I've been copying.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I really like it actually.
Yeah, you got to think you got to think fourth and third dimensionally in order to understand where the weight is, especially when things are moving. Like you get a better sense of like where the center of gravity is and how things are balanced when you can actually see things wobbling around in motion. That is also why doing live poses of a live human being is preferable to photos because there's a few reasons. First off, you see the weight of the pose when the model's just sitting there, so like you can feel the life and the weight of it. If you're doing it physically in real life, you can actually get up and walk around the model to see a better sense of the 3D forms of the model and also get a better sense of their weight and stuff. Over time, you can also kind of see the model sort of adjust their weight posture to the weight and so on.
Mm.
And I mean, inherently, the model's pose is going to slowly change over time. So you have to interpret something that is not going to be a perfect copy of what you see, but you're going to try to create your own version of the same idea or a similar idea, but make it better. I mean, the goal with that kind of drawing is to not copy what you're seeing, but make something better than what you're looking at with the model. That's for like actually being able to make something better than what you're seeing is something that like the high end people get into. For us as animators, like we're trying to enhance the action that we're seeing. We kind of break it down in our own crude way to like the important bits, but we also try to enhance the things that are important. So I'd say this was a very successful session, and I think that this is a big winner. There's probably going to be some sessions where we might do just purely figure drawing again and stuff, but I think that doing stuff like this a regular thing would be a good idea. Because this is actually the direction I always wanted us to eventually move in, and I think we're kind of at the point where I can feel comfortable about doing more demos like these, and leading more class sessions like this. Yeah, I mean, yeah. This one turned out nice. And every time you try one of these, it's another thing added to your visual vocabulary of what you're going to be able to animate. Potentially, like these might produce some portfolio pieces for people too, or the starting point for a portfolio piece.
That would be nice.
Or some of these might wind up becoming inadvertent preliminary studies for some other like, professional project that you're working on. Like, hey, there's a ball player that I animated previously. Maybe I can use what I started with on that. For this, that might help. Or at least you use the knowledge that you gained from that, and that'll help you later. So I think we're pretty good to start wrapping up, but I want to check out what people have done. Train's got a little something that they were trying to use the big figures on. I think those figure shapes, those can potentially be used for animating, especially if you get really comfortable with them. But those shapes I think would be better for the next pass on something like this. Like I'd go in and I'd use those as the volumetric shapes, because when you're just concentrating on the motion, you don't really necessarily get too concerned with with laying down that kind of volume. You just want to get the basic motion down as crudely as quickly as you can, because you just if you can get that feeling right, then when you put like the more thought out volumes and stuff on, you'll have the confidence to make them look good.
Okay.
So and that's what I think. And not that you can't animate like that. I think trying to animate like that would be pretty good. But you want to find something that works for you, that lets you concentrate on the motion. So I mean, like, I'm gonna be experimenting with maybe even trying to animate using those shapes too. I might even set a challenge for myself with doing that too. But for this, like referencing live action, I'm gonna inherently revert to something a little bit more like this. At least for the first pass. But nice try, though.
Thanks.
I mean, anytime you do one of these, you're going to learn more stuff just by observation.
Yeah, this was definitely a good study for.
I think Zelda definitely would have helped them if they'd paid more attention to the overall thrust of the gesture. You want the overall thrust. I think Zelda got a little bit too caught up in shape from this one. Right here. Yeah, these are I'm not really seeing too much variation in the movement here of the bodies. They're kind of it's kind of haphazardly placed. Like I need to feel you got to look for the overall thrust of the action. Like the overall thrust that I was looking for is how that fist's popping up into the face, and the shift of the body and stuff right here. Like you want to get that kind of feeling into it. If you get too caught up into the shapes without getting the motion of the gesture working for you, it's gonna hurt you. So you're not animating shapes for this. You're animating the forces, the underlying forces, and the motion and the power that's going through this action here. You want to create that impression of that power, that impact. And you want to get there by any duct tape and glue means that you can before you start getting the more solid shapes on them and stuff. But anyway, nice try. Let's see here. Raboots. Yeah, Raboots got a little bit tangled and confused, like they were describing.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was the other guy throwing the actual uppercut until
Yeah.
like it was too late.
I
That's
think
what happened.
I
Honestly.
did kind of throw you guys in the deep end with this one because it's really kind of hard to tell what's going on for newcomers because there's a lot of limbs overlapping each other. For me, I was kind of going into X-ray mode with what I was seeing. But yeah, a clarity of poses for reference would be best for newer people for sure. Look at some of the people's the name. Gus posted a pretty good study. I think there's towards the end there. I think he kind of freezes on his leg before it comes up a bit, which kind of bugs me. Like it kind of looks like he loses his balance. He loses his weight and balance. Also, like it looks kind of off balance to me. The final pose looks a little better, but the stuff preceding it kind of feels a little bit off to me somehow. Zav is killing it. Jeez, look at this. That's really nice. I don't have a lot to say about that. That's just really nicely done. I do think that maybe the weight could be shifted a little bit more to the right on the end pose. But that's just like a minor nitpick. That one's a good one. I think, yeah, this one by Rabbits is a little bit more successful, but there are some issues towards the end here.
Oh, you mean the leg just kind of going wink?
Yeah, I think some more smoothing there to like arc that leg up would definitely help. Like maybe a few more frames to help with that. There's other things too. Like you want to think about a hierarchy of movement. Like when they're throwing a pitch, first their foot comes down, then they shift their hips. They shift up through their calves and their thighs to their hips. They twist the they twist their torso, and then they twist their shoulder. Then they fling their shoulder down, and then it's like a whole hierarchy of motion that also travels back up through the body. That of course travels back down through the leg to lift up the leg. So it's like this kind of ripple that goes through the whole body and comes back down. And I had that in the back of my head when I was doing this. I think I think there's like stuff that I kind of didn't quite. I mean, this works, but I feel like there's some added aspects for what I'm describing that could have been pushed. But it overall works. The one that I did. Let's see here. Oh, actually, no, there is one bit of feedback I'll give Zav on this. I'd say these would be great for story poses, but I'm not so sure about like starting an animation like this. I think I'd be interested in seeing what you could do if you just concentrated on the motion, and if you cleared out doing any kind of anatomical thing, if you tried to like really push the motion so we get this kind of rubbery flexibility to the motion. Like you compare mine to yours right now. Like I'm going really crude and I'm not really paying too much attention to anatomy and stuff. You do have some great poses here. Don't get me wrong. Like that looks really nice right here. But I feel like if you could combine it like this is what I'd want you to see you go to in your second pass with like this kind of drawing. For your first pass, I'd want your first pass to look more kind of along these lines. Or even like this, or even the super crude stuff at the end, like where it's just about getting the feeling of the motion right. And you give yourself permission to get that right. If you get this kind of eerie effect of when you're watching it, where it feels like you're watching a physical thing emerging from a physical thing moving from this crude kind of gestural sketch that you've done, then you're clear to move ahead with more anatomical looking stuff. I want to see how far you can push expressive stuff and give yourself permission to turn off the I need to draw anatomy poses party rate. But these are still great. Don't get me wrong. These are great drawings, and I feel like you could strengthen your animating by liberating yourself to just concentrate on motion first.
I think you've said that before, like turn off your anatomy brain.
Yeah. Yeah, just compartmentalize. Give us like if you want good examples of that sort of thing. I mean, you could look at Bahi JD's stuff is really great for that. Like his, we were actually looking at some of his stuff in the ping pong animation earlier too. But yeah, Bahi JD's got a lot of great stuff that you can see some examples of that sort of thing in some of his roughs. Let me see if I can find some. That's not. There we go. This is from ping pong. This is a really quick example, but yeah, he's using a little kind of a mannequin here, but look at how just freaking crude that thing is, and it's all about like the rocking and the rolling hips. Sometimes he just has like a few lines for some of the in betweens, just for like getting an indication of the body moving, but it feels like it has physicality to it, as crude as it is. See if we can.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. He doesn't always start that. Like this one, he was like really kind of pushing himself for getting that solid head kind of thing there. I'd be interested in seeing what he was doing for that, but let's see. Oh yeah, this shot from A Better Tomorrow. Yeah, you can see some of it in this too. He uses a mannequin for this, but it's also the really crude kind of thing. And just done really, really rough and loosely. And he's really concentrating on just the motion, basically. Keep in mind, I'm hoping to learn this stuff too, so there's a lot of gaps in my knowledge as well. Let's clean up, or tie down stuff. Yeah, Bahi JD is a good one to look at for for you to get inspired by, for sure. And I'm looking at him for my own inspiration right now. Because I'm looking at it for ideas, because like he's doing a lot of the web gem sort of thing where you can see him, he actually will like use lasso tool copy paste on certain areas of the body and stuff to nudge them around, like for his first pass when he's doing stuff like this. But of course, it's like eventually it's hand drawn over again where they do individual frames and stuff. But it's like whatever gets into the finish line for something that feels like it's got good motion to it. Like, look at how freaking crude this is, because he's just concentrating on the motion. And this is what it looks like after he's like. Well, actually, then look, check it out. Like you can do a comparison here, of like you got those really nicely tied down, cleaned up pencil drawings, and then you got little cruder stuff in here, some backdrop stuff mixed in. You can see the background stuff in there, showing how crude and simple the actual animation stuff is. Look at that. Look at just how simple that stuff is back there. Look how crude and simple these figures are. But the information about the motion is in there. Yeah, give yourself permission to turn off certain part. Turn off. Don't be a dummy. I mean, like you keep some of your parts active, obviously, especially if you're thinking ahead. But give yourself permission to just concentrate on the motion. Yeah. That's fun. Just animation improv stuff. See if we can take a look at some other good examples of his work. Oh yeah, this is one of his earliest web gen things that he made, like on Flipnote or something. Yeah. Anyway, we should wrap it up, shouldn't we? So thank you all for coming. It's been a good session. We've gotten some actual animation studies under our belt, and so I'm looking forward to doing more of those next Wednesday. And also we have that lovely tool in our tool belt now. Like when we do need to draw clean and precise and stuff, we have the ability to using these very crude shapes as our kind of starting point to help us wrap our heads around 3D stuff. Look, when we need to, like the goal will eventually be to like take these like kind of crude motions where we've worked out the motion and like work up the anatomy and the posturing and stuff. Like I could definitely take this. Like honestly, I think my next step would be to take something like this and try putting those mega bones or whatever I call them, those logs on this guy. Anyway, yeah, so good session. Any questions before we go?
What is the meaning of life?
Oh, there were just some questions in the drawing corner chat.
Any question? Well, somebody had questions in text chat. Any advice for not feeling embarrassed when receiving advice? No one looks down on you. No one looks down on you. A lot, and we know there are a lot of newcomers here. You have nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. What I'm trying to do with this stuff is hopefully open up your third eye just a little bit wider, so that you'll be a little bit more prepped and you get a little bit taste of what it's like in a real drawing class. Everyone digests stuff at their own pace, and there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of about receiving critique. Learning to receive and utilize critique is a very, very essential skill of an artist. You have nothing to be ashamed of, especially if you're new, because you haven't been taught this stuff yet, and also the stuff hasn't sunk in yet because you haven't had the time to really dig into it. So there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of at all. Like, I don't look down on anybody who tries this stuff. What I do look down on is people who make excuses. Like, I mean, it's okay to be a little insecure and stuff, but just like, you got to take your criticism on the chin. Sometimes sometimes a little bit of the criticism might be garbage, but that's up for you. That's up for you to kind of judge over time as you get more experience and can make your own judgment calls for yourself. But generally speaking, if people are more experienced than you and they give you feedback, you should take it seriously and stuff. But anyway, like I said, don't you're gonna have to get over the stage fright of getting critiqued. Fortunately, this place is a safe. This class that we're in is a safe environment. I don't look down on anyone here, and also good instructors that teach classes full of beginners in paid classes do not look down on beginners either, because they know that they need to reach the beginners at their level. But yeah, being embarrassed, that's kind of normal if you're not used to this, and so just keep trying, and if you are putting in effort and you are trying every day, even if you're not really seeing the progress you want to see just yet, as long as you're trying every day and you're struggling, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for all of your advice. It's been really good so far.
I didn't see
I was gonna
K-Bears.
say,
K-Bears is pretty good, except
Sorry?
I would like it more of a settle at the end. What's that?
oh, I was gonna say that so I'm actually learning for comic making. But I still
Ooh.
think that doing these animation exercises would be helpful. And I have Clip Studio, and I had no idea that you can actually animate in Clip Studio.
Yeah, I'll
you
have
say
to go over a little bit about how to set that up for it next time. I
Or-
just
I
noticed
can
Zov's punch animation. Let's actually take a look at a few more before we go. Some other ones I didn't notice. So again, Zov is unable to turn off that anatomy brain, but in this case, this one actually worked out pretty well. I think because using that anatomy brain, they were able to make sense of what's the fuck is going on in there a little bit better. So for this one, I want to see Zov try playing with the timing. Try playing with the timing of this. Like maybe look a little bit what I did for mine, for how snappy the timing is, and try to get something that feels like it has good impact to it. Sometimes like the impact will like come in a way that you didn't quite expect. And you can only get there by like fucking with it and seeing how it looks. But like let's take a look at mine real quick. So mine is by no means perfect, but I gave myself like a little bit of a settle time here at the end. When he's up like that, he's like go like that. Then he pulls down like that. But one of the places that I didn't really expect it to work out, but I wanted to try it anyway, is so I have a 1 here for when the initial impact happens, and then I have put it the next frame on 3s for when the head is kind of jerked to the side, because I really want to emphasize that pain there of getting struck. And it somehow wound up working a little better like that. But another example is like varying the timing of stuff. I think I pulled it off a little bit better here. So check this out. So this one is, because it's a much simpler action and I didn't have to really like improvise as much. This is a little bit more better thought out. So these first 2 frames are on 4s. Maybe that would add an in-between or 2 in here too in the future. But then you notice I start accelerating it. Like these are on 3s. This is on 2. Then these are on 1s. Then that's on 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 for the setup, and then and. So it's this kind of acceleration thing that's going on here. I think that I could even play with the timing some more. Like let's try like maybe if I put these on 2s initially here. 2, 2, 2, 2, then maybe like 4, 4. Let's try that. Let's see how that looks. It's subtle, but it looks, I kind of like it a little better now, don't you? Don't you think? Yeah. Something about like now it raises the leg raises up a little quickly a little quicker at the beginning. Then it's like more clearly decelerates there. It kind of feels a little bit better for me. Yeah, like playing with the timing. Timing is timing is everything. Timing is everything
Yeah,
once you get the drawings down.
the timing for that punch I found a lot harder than like the baseball pitch.
Yeah, just play with it a bit. Like try to vary it up. Like so figure out okay, where in the thing is this would this thing be on ones? Where's the fastest action happening? Where are the slowest moments happening? And maybe is there a moment in there maybe where I could linger on one frame a little bit longer than you would normally expect, or something? And there's different ways to kind of stage. It depends on what kind of effect you're trying to get with how the timing works. Like sometimes something a little bit more stilted might work, but if you're trying to get something that has like more of like a physical impact to it, then you really got to play with varying the timing. Anyway, yeah, let's take a look at a couple other people's things to see if there's any other things worth. No, actually, there's not too much more. Well, there's that one's a little bit too fast. But I think is it the same one that K-Bear posted? Yeah, they posted this one later. Yeah, that one, I think there needs to be more of a settle at the end for me. But I think from what I'm seeing in the frames, the frames are going by a little fast, but yeah, his leg comes up too fast at the end. Try slowing out a little bit like how I did for mine, where it starts to decelerate. Like the fastest point is when he actually throws the ball. Then it starts to slow a little bit as the leg comes up, and it slows more and settles. Try something like that if you can, on your own time. Feel free to post these, by the way, in the animation in the appropriate animation sections in my Discord. Anyway, so we're gonna cut it off now. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for teaching.
Peace.